Loading. You are live.
And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Open Mic Foundation on this Sunday afternoon, coming live from my home studios. Yes, we're changing it up a little bit, and we invited our special guest today at my place. So I just want to welcome you and to this Sunday afternoon talk regarding Life Has It Rise, and for you to enjoy the show. So, you know how to follow us on Facebook, our homepage, on the YouTube channel, and on Instagram. Follow us, like us. You know all the links, they will be put into the chat. And if you have any comments, please share with us. All right, so there's a little bit of a glitch problem on it, so let's just go ahead. I just want to welcome our guest today, Zizpho. How are you doing?
I'm good. Trish, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me at my home. I appreciate you coming all the way from Johannesburg today, so thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm
Oh.
excited.
So, for those that don't know, I'm gonna just introduce our guest quickly. All the way from Johannesburg. What an inspiring woman, I must say. When Ludo introduced me to you and who you are and what you're doing, I follow your work and I see all the lives that you touch and all the people that you inspire. And you certainly have a way of touching people, that's for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Oh, where did I start? My name is Zizpho. I was born in Kwale. I'm from the Eastern Cape. I'm a mother of two boys and I'm married and I am a lover of life. I'm always looking to learn. I'm always looking to meet new people, experience new things. And leadership is one passion of mine, but I think personal growth is the biggest. And of course, entrepreneurship, which is something that I do on a daily basis in terms of finding entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, you really touch a lot of people in how you're growing, into that field, and definitely some of the things that comes to light if I see some of the work that you're doing as well. So I said to you, I don't want to know about the work today. I want to go behind Zizi,
Yes.
right? I want to know about who you are. I want to know, that lift to have risen, right? I mean, as a black woman and as a woman of color, I surely knows how that is. It is not easy doing that.
Mm,
It takes courage, it takes bravery, it takes strength to rise above all that we face in South Africa, right?
yeah.
So let's talk about that journey.
Well, I think Lift as You Rise for me stems from my upbringing. So I grew up in the former rural Transkei. My mother was a teacher, my father was in agriculture. So we grew up having chores. All of us knew what we needed to do when it was time to go to the fields. But certainly, from my mother's point of view, because she was a teacher, education was very important to her. So she taught us a lot of values together with my father and lifting as you rise stems from the fact that as parents, they were never afraid to lead us, and they were never afraid as a couple to sort of interchange their roles. Sometimes my father would be leading, sometimes it would be my mother who's leading, sometimes the other would follow. So just because the one is a male and the other is a female didn't in my home automatically mean that they have to do certain things. So I learned from a very young age that when you surround yourself with people that you can learn from, a lot of things can change in your life. So my mother was my first role model as a teacher, and most of us went to the school that she taught. And luckily, I wasn't taught by her. I was the lucky one.
Yeah.
But most of my siblings were actually taught by her in class. So when I got to standard 4, she changed and got to another class. So Lift as You Rise is as much as it's about leadership in corporate, leadership in your journey as a career woman. It's also about the leadership skills that one has learned at home and how you apply those later on in life, even with my children as they grow.
So interesting you saying that, right? You know, we don't realize how much of that stems from our homes, right?
Yeah,
We so underestimate the actions, the choices, the behavior, what we as parents demonstrate to our children, the consequences of that,
yes,
and how that leads our children of today.
exactly.
I was telling you earlier on that I was doing guided meditation at a school. It was so sad for me to see children at that age, primary school and high school, talk about how heavy they feel, how much of regrets they have,
Oh my God.
being trying to be perfect in an imperfect world. It's made me so sad.
Mm,
It made me feel as if we has not only has women as moms, but also has leaders that are helping to become more visible in schools.
yeah, yeah,
Because, and I'm not saying you have to be perfect as a parent, because we all not perfect and we all make mistakes. But if I had to hear some of the things that these kids were talking about, it made me really, really sad.
I think it's because of the time that we live in. Honestly, um, if you're not conscious and intentional about it, it's easy to miss because you could be sitting here thinking that you're paying the attention to your kids, you're doing all that you need to do, only to find out that you are lacking. So it's the time that we live in, but all we can do is to be intentional about it.
Yeah. I also think bringing awareness to the children at that age will help them to make the different choices and the decisions that they need for themselves,
Yeah.
and not blame. I mean, listen, we all conditioned and we all have our belief systems of what
Yes.
is right and wrong,
Yes.
but it doesn't mean to say that we need to conform to that,
Mm,
right?
mm,
We can break the cycle by disrupting those cycles,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
we can choose to choose differently,
Certainly.
right? But these kids, right? I mean, to your point, your mom and dad, being in that dominated home, there was no dominance of male and female. They rose and lifted that and showed you what it means to have that balance.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've carried that through your marriage.
So that's the thing, right? When you get married, you get told that you bring baggage,
Oh wow, we all
whatever,
right.
exactly, whatever you
Yeah,
were brought up with. For me,
yeah.
that's one of the
Oh
things
yeah,
I brought into my marriage to say I learned teamwork at home.
yeah.
So according to how I was raised, my parents were team members, and the children were team members. All of us had a role to play. I remember growing up as a kid, in the rural Transkei, we would have a fire around and sit around the fire, and my father would tell us stories, and everyone had their role to play. Everyone was expected to do something. Teamwork was a non-negotiable. So I brought that to my marriage, to my home. This morning, you were asking me what I was doing before I got here. So the kids, my kids, and I'm sure other kids as well. When there's no Wi-Fi, they are dying.
Panicking, panicking.
They're panicking. So our Wi-Fi, there's something wrong with it. And on Sundays, I always try and be intentional about family time and all
Okay.
that stuff. So we were baking, we were cooking, and I've got boys, remember. So this thing that you're saying that your upbringing has a way of coming to your life. It's boys. Just because it's boys doesn't mean that they're not gonna bake muffins with me and help
But
me
absolutely
with
right.
cooking. Who's gonna help me? I don't have girls,
Yep.
and who said girls must be the ones who
Yeah.
are cooking? My husband, when he's around, he also cooks.
Yeah.
So we have that way of life, and I think one of the things I've noticed, just because I grew up like that, doesn't mean my partner grew up like that. So obviously there's conflict here and there, but once you find yourself and once you find each other, then things work out.
It's very amazing that you're saying that because you very rarely find that, right? I mean, playing as a team is one thing, but now you have a partner that has not been raised like that,
Exactly.
right? The upbringing
Exactly.
is so really, right? I mean, I know in an Indian traditional home, the woman is the bearer of the household, the cooking, the chores, the cleaning, the washing, the ironing, the you name it.
Everything.
And the man is the king,
Wow.
right? And you bow down to the man. I mean, you have to even serve him food.
Yes, yes. Our cultures are similar, by
Oh,
the way.
oh yeah, oh yeah. There's no different here, honey.
No.
There is absolutely no different in this, and I know that, and that's why I'm bringing it out, right?
Yeah.
No different,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't conform to that. It made no sense. I mean, you were lucky in the sense that your parents, you know, gave you the opportunity to see what it was like,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Me, oh, no.
Yes.
My parents, the traditional Indian home,
To the core.
to the core, till today. Till today. Listen, I'm very grateful to have my parents with me, very grateful to be brought up in a very loving and respected home with
Yes.
kindness and gratitude. Absolutely. It just didn't work for me. From that conformance of a traditional, and this is how you need to behave, this is
Yes.
what you need to do, this is what society needed you to be like, right? That just,
Societal expectations.
oh oh, so much, and so much of pressure, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know, and to your point, I mean, sharing the baking experience and the cooking experience with your boys, who says that only girls should do that?
Exactly.
Who says that the boy is the only one that should be fixing that car
Exactly.
or that truck or riding the bike or climbing the trees?
Who says I can't teach my boys how to drive? It must be their father only who does it. Who
And
says
I,
that?
I also think that we rob our girls of today so much of freedom to be able to do what the hearts desire.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I've I conducted this experiment with moms, right? And I said, how many moms have girls? So probably 3/4 of the room said girls, and the other quarter said boys. Okay. How many of the moms have said no to their girls in the past 24 hours? Every single one of them put their hands up. The boys, how many of you have said no to your boys? Not a single person.
Oh no.
And we are so conditioned to say, we are so quick to say, no, you cannot do this to girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it goes back to that home and to the lifestyle and to how we teach our kids.
And I think it then translates. So everything stems from your upbringing, what you've learned, and your conditioning. And then as you grow older, for me, there was a time where I realized that no, man, societal expectations are not necessarily going to work for me. For instance, the example I made growing up, I grew up with two brothers and then there's four girls, so there's six of us. My father said to me at an early age, just because you are a girl doesn't mean you can't drive a tractor. So at 11 years old, I was being
Wow.
taught how to drive a tractor because if my brothers are not there, what's going to happen, right? Just because you are a girl doesn't mean you can't do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
So what is it that we are teaching our kids today that is going to help them in the future? You know?
Yeah. So true. Hey, I think we so conditioned to believe a certain way that we don't break those barriers, and we don't, and that is, that is why we don't understand who we truly are, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Comes back down to that,
yeah.
you
And
know.
it's hard. It's hard, right? The thing about, I think you touch on it in some of the things that you do. Knowing yourself, your personal mastery is very important, because then
Absolutely.
if you know yourself, who you are and who you are not, then it's going to be easy for you to navigate life, because life is tough.
Oh yeah.
So imagine now, in addition to life being tough, if you are getting confused left, right, and center, the person comes to you today and they say, do this, you do it. Tomorrow they say, do this, you do it. You know? So how is that going to help?
Oh, so guys, you're watching the Open Mic Foundation. It is the Sunday afternoon talk show. Thank you so much for joining. For those that are joining, please say hi on the call. Send some comments if you have any questions. Definitely share this with us. Rulo, do we have anything? No? Okay. All good. Guys, if you are watching, please like, share, and follow us. We really appreciate it. So coming back, I think we talk so much, going from kids, going from marriage, going from tradition, going from values and the conditioning. How has that led you to today, in what you're doing and helping so much of, you said your mom's a teacher, right? So you clearly get that teaching and helping people, from her to a certain extent. But it's definitely has influenced you of the woman you are today and what you're doing.
So it's a combination of things, Shash. I think as one grows, you experience life differently, and you make certain choices. For me, I've learned from an early age that it's about choices. So I choose to go left, I choose to go right, I choose to come here on a Sunday.
She did. She did.
Whereas my own rules are Sundays are, you don't touch my Sundays. But because this is an important discussion and I
Aw.
happen to like you,
Ah,
I'm here on a Sunday, right? Life is about choices. So there's a I'm not saying people must seek suffering, but there's something that comes with overcoming some sort of tragedy in life. So I lost my mom at 15. I was 15 when I lost my mom, and she was 53. And then my dad fell apart after that, and he then lost his job. So at that point in time, my first memory of making choices is when I was faced with, do I drown myself in sorrows or do I drown myself in books? Now, remember, I said when we were growing up, my mom and dad were very big on values and instilling certain things. One of the things that my mother used to say was, you know, I need to give you something that no one can take away from you, and that is education, right? So now at 15, I'm faced with a choice. Do I drown myself in sorrows or do I choose education? So I just buried myself into books. And luckily, I chose a career that is sort of more structured than other careers. So getting into the accountancy route, chartered accountancy route, meant that if I dare not pay attention to certain things and make wrong decisions, I'm done. Right? There's
true.
no two ways about it. So one day at a time. I think it's making the choices, it's making the decisions, a combination of kissing a few frogs here and there, combination of failures here and there, a combination of meeting the right people along the way has led me to where I am. And I think I've learned that success is not necessarily about money or finances only. Success is a number of things. So when I defined what that is along the way, I didn't, get to it very quickly in life. When I defined it for myself, then I became happier with who I am and where I am. Even though there are things that I still want to achieve in life, the fact that today I can breathe and I can say I'm a mother of two boys and I can put food on the table and I've got a family that's loving, I've got an extended family that I talk to. Other people don't even talk to their family members.
Yeah.
So there are things that you
Yeah.
should be grateful for.
Oh wow, that's a sore one, right? Um, so much wisdom you just shared. I also think trauma, loss, pain,
Yes.
grief
Yes.
gets you to a place of realization. I can truly vouch and witness of that as well. Um, it took me to have lost someone that was very dear to me as well, that decided that it was time for us to part ways. And when he left as well, it was a great loss. And I didn't realize at that point in time who I was.
Mm.
It was the most traumatic feeling. And I do not wish this on anyone,
Mm.
to have gone through that, not knowing who you are. And we get so confused over, our partners and our spouses, that we become them.
We're like this.
Yeah,
At
like
some
a
point
like
we
a like
don't
a
know.
the Indian
Yes.
culture is like a mixed badger,
Yeah.
right? We so intertwined with it that we don't understand is that when we can apart, who's this? And it took me to have lost that to have realized who I was.
Imagine.
It was and I think my whole journey up to that point was him,
Yeah.
family.
Yes.
We never get to look at ourselves.
You defined yourself
Yeah,
around him,
yeah,
and you only woke up at that moment. So for me, I've learned that traumatic experiences like that
yeah.
are somehow, you know, hidden blessings. As much as it was painful for you at that time, it's similar to someone actually dying,
Well,
losing
he
someone.
committed suicide,
Exactly. So
right? So
while you're grieving on the side, there's something that God is giving you. If you're not paying attention, you might miss it. But if you pay attention, it could be your greatest gift.
and it is my greatest gift, because, and if I have to sum it up, it was a rebirth of being born again.
Yeah.
And to have touched that motion and feeling and that sense of understanding how do you come back into your body, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Powerful.
Absolutely. And I've realized something as well. Through your suffering, through your pain, through your trauma, it brings out the deepest insights of who you truly are,
Amen to it.
right? And that for me was, I think, the most profound thing I could ever had learned, and being able to understand what that means. You know, I tell my team this, and I'm currently teaching an organization as well, is that we so quick to look at what makes us happy. We look at love and we chase after love, and we chase after our desires and our temptations, and we chase after happiness and joy, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because these are the things that bring us the most energy and the most positiveness and things like that. But we don't think about the suffering.
No, that's the
So
last thing we think about.
that's the last thing, right? You know why? Because we associate it with negativity. We associate with pain, trauma, and hurt, and all the sadness in it. And I don't see that anymore.
Mm.
I see how it rebuilds oneself. And I believe that if we learn how to suffer as a united nation, or as humanity as a whole, we would suffer much less.
Mm. I agree.
I truly, Zizi, hear me out. I truly believe if we understand what it means to suffer, if we sit in our suffering, if we acknowledge where the suffering is coming from and know it's okay, we will be able to suffer less, and we'll be able to truly understand what it means to be human, to be on this planet, to be connected with ourselves again.
For me, it's difficult when you're in the midst of that
Yes.
suffering,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's always easy in retrospect
Mhm.
to see what this was teaching you. But I've learned to pause in the middle of the storm
Yeah.
and ask myself, oh God, what am I being taught?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is the lesson? It's
Yeah.
so hard. And I've learned to acknowledge my own feelings, right? And say, this sucks.
It does. It's so sucks.
This is so
right?
bad. I want to cry.
It
And I
is.
cry and I cry. Have crying sessions. You're like, this is bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Once I've done that, because
yeah.
before I would be like, trying to float above the storm thing.
Or just ignore it and put it under the carpet, right?
Doesn't work.
Because we're not seeing it. We're not facing it.
No.
We're not realizing it. So why
Doesn't
talk
work.
about it? But
Acknowledge it. Say, listen, I'm going to sit with this thing and say, okay, I see you. You are here. What am I supposed to learn?
and accept.
Exactly. What
We
what
don't-
am I supposed
we
to
don't-
accept?
you know?
This and accept it.
I think one of the biggest things, even with all of that there, and I know this is a very big topic I'm bringing up, but going back to what we were talking about, hey, the amount of forgiveness I have to do to myself, Susie, to get to that space of, pointing the finger
At someone else.
at someone else.
Yeah.
The amount of forgiveness I had to do for myself to get to that space of being peace.
That's
At
hard.
peace. It was hard, but to learn how to do that, to understand why you need to forgive yourself, besides forgiving, anyone, it starts with you.
So what I do with this forgiving yourself and loving yourself,
Yeah.
I love the fact that you bring up the forgiveness, because I think we tend to place so much value in forgiving others.
Oh yeah.
So I sit in front of the mirror and look at myself.
Oh wow.
Because people can easily say, Shash, we're talking about theoretical
Yeah.
things here. We're trying to motivate
I
people.
know.
I want to bring it to the practicality of it. I sit in front of the mirror and say, I forgive you, Zizpho, for doing A, B, and C. You messed up with A, B, and C. Or even say, don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. It's really not that big of a deal. Eh? My son likes to say it's not that deep. I'm like, okay.
Not that deep. I saw the hand. Do we have a question? Comment?
No, we have a comment from Antonella. She says, without suffering and trauma, we don't appreciate a place of joy. I agree so very much with what you're saying.
Oh, thank you, Antonella, for joining us. She's one of the artists that's going to be at our exhibition, at the Resurrection exhibition. And that's the other thing, I named that, no pun intended on it, right? When I named the Resurrection, I was looking for a word that says reborn.
Yes.
And I didn't realize how much of ties the resurrection has to, Christianity.
Yes.
But for me, God is God. Doesn't matter. It's all we pray.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, thank you, Antonella, for that. I appreciate, the kind sentiments. But that is true, right? Because we do get reborn.
Yeah.
And
we do, no matter which faith you
Yeah.
belong into. I think I'm reading a book currently. It's called Halftime, A Journey from Success to Significance. It talks about the fact that around 40, before 40 or at 40 or just after 40, you realize that now you only have
I am that version of that, right?
you only have half time left.
Yeah.
It's half time. You only have the other half. So
right.
what do you want to do? This point about resurrection or reborn resonates with me, because what will people say when you die? What will they say about you?
I have to say this to you, right? So in my class that I had last week, practice, it was a mirror board class. And same thing, they talked about, okay, I don't know what people are going to say to me. I don't know why. So you know what I told them to do? Please write me a eulogy.
Oh my God, that's scary. Yeah.
Think about this easily, right? People say, I want to leave this legend and I want to leave this thing behind. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Right.
Tell me or show me what this eulogy is about. Write it for me. And I challenged him. So I will be reading that eulogy next month.
Oh my God.
Because think
That's
about
a
it,
good
right?
way.
Because for me to have people to get to their purpose, or get to their self-fulfillment, for me to help someone, to guide them into their space of peace or fulfillment or something they need to share with me.
Yeah. from your own perspective before you expect someone else.
Again, expectations are created upon outside environments and not our inner state being. We project, we always think of solving the outside world, solving that problem, solving anything outside of us
Except
solves the problem, not realizing it does not solve it.
it's hard, though, I must admit, it's hard to look inside. It's hard, but it's very beneficial. This thing about looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, even, people talk about self love. For me, you have to be practical about it. So, the way you give love to other people, try that to yourself and see the impact that will have on your life.
So it's definitely, a practice in how we live our daily lives, you know, what we consume.
Exactly.
So when I say consume, consume on a sensory level. What we consume with, people, conversations, what we're watching, what we're listening to, the podcasts, the music,
TV shows.
the TV shows, the people we interact with, all of those things. We don't realize these things impact us and our reaction and how we behave. They don't realize that. So yeah, there's so much that's definitely, going, into that perspective and how people are absolutely for sure.
And then if you're not conscious, it's easy to miss that.
Oh,
If you're not conscious, it's easy to miss that.
yeah.
Sorry, so let's pause. The camera died.
Oh,
So we're actually on pause.
okay.
So we're just gonna join from your phone
Okay.
and then we're just gonna continue.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
I don't think you're gonna join from that. You're gonna have to put the yes.
okay.
So disconnect.
All
Bring
right.
the table closer.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Watch the table. Yeah. Bring it
Yes.
closer. Bring it closer. Bring closer to me. Okay. Let's see where this is gonna take us.
Um. All right.
How did you pause this thing?
No, I
Went
don't.
like that.
It just went like this. So currently, this is quality.
Okay, wait.
You need to plug the thing.
No.
You didn't charge for it?